big news is we're finally upgrading to lithium.
We're Nat and James, and this is our sailboat Zephyr. She's taken us all over the world and been our home for 3.5 years. With over 20,000 nautical miles under her keel and our sights firmly set on sailing around the world, we are on a mission to make some vital upgrades and much needed repairs. So join us every week for a new video. If you would like to support our journey, a great way is by clicking the subscribe button. Enjoy the video, guys.
Then came you, I thought I was.
We are changing from our AGMs. Right now we have 4 110 amp hour AGMs, and we are switching those out for 3 277 amp hour Dakota Lithiums, and these things are badass. When we started looking for a lithium battery supplier that could meet our needs, we finally found the trifecta in a company called Dakota Lithium. They're a company that thrive in building batteries for the outdoors. Dakota Lithium have been building batteries since 2008, and they back that up by a world-beating, best-in-class 11-year warranty. Our 12-volt 277 amp-hour batteries are engineered for maximum density, and they offer 6 times the amount of usable power of a single Group 31 AGM battery. Our batteries are LiFeP04, which means they have an internal BMS system. Dakota Lithium batteries are offered in a wide variety of sizes, from 12 volt all the way up to 48 volt systems. For more information about Dakota Lithium, you can go to their website at dakotalithium.com, or if you would like to get in contact directly, you can reach them at sales@dakotalithium.com. With the key message of go further, cruise longer, play harder, no matter the weather, we knew that Dakota Lithium was a company that was in sync with the lifestyle that we've chosen. We are going with a huge battery bank to meet our needs for power. So what are we doing? We'll get into that in a minute, but right now I am doing my cabling in preparation for tomorrow's install. So what does that mean? Well, I've never done any of this before, and maybe a lot of you haven't done this before. Maybe you have, I don't know. But this is my first time ever preparing cabling for batteries, and it's pretty exciting. For any of you that have watched our channel consistently, you'll notice that, and I always say, electric work is always my downfall, but I'm learning and I'm really trying. So with that in mind, I hit Bacon Sales today. They have a killer selection on all of the electrical supplies that I needed. So what did I get? Well, with the lithium batteries, we are pumping way more juice through the cables, so we had to upgrade our cable size. We are now up to a much larger 70 millimeters squared, or 2/0 AWG. I think that's the conversion, the American wire gauge. So it's a much thicker cable than what we've been using. We're actually oversizing it quite a bit. You can never go wrong, I was told, with oversizing your cables. So what do I need to do? I need to add, see these things, I've already done a couple. These are the terminal ends for our cables. And to do that, we need a big piece of machinery like this. And basically, all it does is it creates these cool crimps on these terminal ends. So I'm doing that. I've done a couple of the positive wires already, and I'm about to start doing all of my negative wires. So first things first, we're going to remove a section of this outer coating, this rubber coating on the end of the cable. Now how much do we remove? Great question. So a little trick is to take your terminal end, you sort of mark to the location of how far you want the cable to go. I'm holding it. And then I've got this little cutter here. And I slightly squeeze, rotate the cable. It just slides off like that. We have our terminal end. So one thing that's really important when you're doing this is you need to figure out the orientation of your terminal ends based on how your wires are going to go. So with my cable flap, both of these are going to go like so. So next we're going to crimp it. So this is where it can all go wrong, obviously. Put a little bit of pressure just on the thing, and then we're going to push the wire snug up against the terminal, and then There we go. I'm not sure I lined that. And then what we do is we turn it 90 and we do the second crimp. And then we are adding a double crimp, just a single though, slightly further along. And there you have it. There's our crimp. Nice and snug against the terminal. We got a double on this one, and then we got our single here. And that is perfect. That is totally ideal. That is gonna last all day long. So the next step after that is we will put some heat shrink tubing over this to protect that connection, and we're golden. But I'm gonna do the heat shrinking after I've done all of the terminal connections. So let's finish those off. All right guys, so that's it. We have done all of our cables. I've got all the right angles on my terminations for all the locations they're going to. Now we are going to place some heat shrink wrapping. I can't remember what the heck it's called. Basically it's heat shrink that goes over the end like so. You kind of want to do it about halfway up the terminal with equal distance across the cable. So we're gonna go about there, and then we're just gonna apply some heat with the heat gun, and it happens real quick. And that's it. There you go. Our cable's all protected. Only 60 more to go. Only 14 more to go. All right, that's it. It's taken a little while, but I'm super happy with the results. I've never done it before, and I think I did a pretty good job for the first time. I've got all of my terminals crimped on there. They're actually facing the right way based on how my wiring is going to go. And I've thrown some heat shrink on all of them. That was just amazing because that covers up all the mistakes. But yeah, overall went really good. I will give one piece of advice. So we went and bought our first bit of cable from Schmesh Marine, and needless to say, when they cut the cable, they did a horrible job. And at the time I didn't think much of it, but when it comes time and you have to put these terminal ends on and they haven't done a nice, good, clean cut, it makes life impossible. I ended up having to cut 2 new ends as a result. But I had all the rest of it done at Bacon Sales here in Annapolis, and when they did the cuts, it was perfect. I didn't have to do anything but slide it right on. So yeah, good clean cuts. It'll save you a lot of work in the end. Anyways, it's late, I'm tired, gonna go back to the boat, and tomorrow, battery install. It's gonna be epic. Stay tuned. All right guys, so here's our batteries. 3 12 volt, 277 amp hour lithium batteries. And they look good. I think the best looking batteries out there. What we need to do before we do any installation is we need to test the voltage of all 3 of these batteries. With these particular batteries, they have to be within 0.05 of a volt each to make sure that they're all perfectly balanced before we put them in. So there you have it. They are all exactly the same, 13.21, not a single digit out of place. So first stage is we're going to remove these batteries. They are going to a new home. A lovely set of patrons of ours really wanted them, so they're going to go there and get lots of good years of use on their boat. And then the next stage is we're actually going to disconnect and remove our current battery isolator. We don't need that anymore because we are putting in a 12 volt battery to battery charger. So we've removed our isolator, which is here. This is our alternator cable. I've actually re-crimped, like put a new terminal on and re-crimped and shrinked it, and it looks good. So this before went to the isolator, it's now going to go to the start switch. So I've done all my wiring runs for this big unit here. I've run a 6mm wire here, which one will go from the start switch, and another one will go from the house bank switch. It'll go to a 60 amp maxi fuse, and then this run will go into that unit. And I've done another one as well for the house bank. So one for the start, one for the house bank. And they will both run to these 60 amp maxi fuses, which we have here, and those both run into this. Okay, so as you can see, we have our two 60 amp maxi fuses. We have our big bad boy here, our Tri-Smart. So in here we have, sorry for the light, obviously we have our negative. This is our start battery and this is our house bank. So we have run our alternator and our start battery to the start switch now because we don't have the isolator. So from our start switch, we have our wire running to our 60 amp max fuse. From there we have it running into the input on here. From here we have the output wire going to the 60 amp max fuse. From there it comes to our house switch, which is here. So next step is I'm going to change out this shunt right here. Alright, well there you are guys. Our shunt is mounted. So this is the new negative that runs from here to the negative on our switch here. From here, this negative will go to the negative at this end of the bank of the batteries. And then this is our connections for our battery monitor. We'll plug those in there and we'll mount it in the old slot where the other one is. Alright guys, so there we are. We got one last thing to do before we put the batteries in, which is I have a 300 amp fuse that will go between the positive end of the battery bank to the positive of the house bank switch. Alright guys, we are at the final stage. There's the first of our batteries. We're ready to drop them in. It's been a long, dark night now, as you can see. We're totally working by head torches. But we've got 3 of these beautiful Dakota Lithium batteries to drop in. Well, good morning everybody. It is the next day, and as expected the job took way longer, but not because it was super complicated, but because we really wanted to make sure we did everything correctly. You know, we're working with batteries, you know, there are some risks involved, and it is all new equipment, so we just wanted to take extra precaution, extra care, and make sure that we did it all right. We didn't want to blow anything up, we didn't want to fry anything, and yeah, we just wanted to make sure we did a really good quality installation of our new lithium batteries. So to recap, what equipment are we using? What differences have we made here on the boat? So first off, we used to have 4 AGM batteries, which are great. There's still tons of life left in them. So we had 440 amp hours of AGM, and then, you know, you have that, we would only use down to as low as 50%. We tried to operate a little bit higher. So really, we were operating with about 220 amp hours of AGM battery in this boat. Now, what have we done? We've upgraded to lithiums, as we said, And we have gone with these incredible batteries from Dakota Lithium. They are 277 amp hour, 12 volt batteries. And 3 of these batteries, huge bank now, 831 amp hours. So it's a very simple setup. It did mean that we had to get a few new things, like this new Victron Orion TR Smart DC to DC charger. We also decided to get a new Victron battery monitor as well. So as you can see, we have completed the installation last night. We have wired these up so that we essentially have one gigantic power bank running at 12 volts. Our battery box is certainly not the best looking battery boxes out there. There's some random cables from the previous owners. That's a project for another time to clean this all up, remove some old cabling. There's stuff in here I know that isn't being used. The previous owner did a bunch of installations and removals, and so that is definitely something we want to work on. But for now, our installation is clean and it's safe, and that's the most important.